My name is Olivia Parker, and I still remember the day I became a bride and an orphan at the same time. On my wedding day, not a single person from my family showed up. I thought they were just being selfish, but when I walked into my brother's house later that night, still in my wedding dress, I froze. Everyone was there, my parents, my siblings, my relatives, and in the middle of the room sat an open box. Inside was something that made my mom scream, my dad turn pale, and my life fall apart in a single second. That was the moment I understood why they skipped my wedding and why nothing would ever be the same again. I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far my story has reached. I woke up that morning to bright sunlight streaming into my room. My wedding dress hung by the window, glowing like it had its own light. I ran my fingers over the lace, feeling the tiny beads and embroidery. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I pictured my mom helping me with my veil, my dad wiping away tears, my little sister Lily teasing me about crying too much. But when I called my mom that morning, she didn't answer. I tried again. Nothing. I texted Lily, "Where are you guys? Big day?" But there was no reply. My stomach felt heavy, but I told myself they were probably getting ready, maybe planning a big surprise for me. At the church, the air was filled with the smell of flowers and the soft sound of the organ playing. Guests whispered to each other, smiling as they took their seats. I scanned the room, my eyes searching every face, but I couldn't see my family anywhere. Not my parents, not Lily, not even my older brother Matthew. My hands started to sweat. My maid of honor, Jessica, leaned over and whispered, "Don't worry, maybe they're stuck in traffic." I nodded, forcing a smile, but inside I felt like something sharp was pressing into my chest. When the music started and I began walking down the aisle, I kept looking around, hoping they'd appear at the back of the church, smiling and waving. But they didn't. I married Ethan, the man I loved for 3 years, with a smile that felt painted on my face. The whole time my mind was racing. Where was my family? Why didn't they come? After the ceremony, I stepped outside, the cold air hitting my face. I pulled out my phone. There were no calls, no texts from my family. But then, as guests were throwing petals at us, my phone buzzed. A message from Mom, just 5 words. "Come home, it's an emergency." The world around me seemed to blur. I showed the message to Ethan. "Should I go?" I asked. He frowned. "Olivia, it's our wedding day. Can it wait?" But my gut told me this wasn't something that could wait. I told him I needed to see what was going on, that I'd be back soon. The drive to my family's house felt endless. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. I didn't even care that I was still wearing my wedding dress. People on the street stared, but I ignored them. My mind kept replaying my mom's words. When I reached my brother Matthew's house, which was strange because my parents didn't live there, I saw dozens of cars parked outside. Laughter and voices came from inside. For a second, I felt anger boil in my chest. Were they celebrating? I pushed the door open without knocking. The room fell silent. Every single member of my family was there. My mom, my dad, Lily, Matthew, uncles, aunts, cousins. They were all standing in a half circle around the coffee table. And then I saw it, the box. It was old, wooden, with carvings along the sides. The lid was open, and inside was something wrapped in yellowed paper. My mom's face was red from crying. My dad's hands were shaking. Matthew stood stiff, like he was guarding it. What is going on?" I asked, my voice trembling. No one spoke for a moment. Then my mom whispered, "Olivia, we didn't come to your wedding because of this." I took a step closer. My eyes went to the object inside the box. At first, I couldn't tell what it was. Then, as Matthew slowly lifted it out, my mouth went dry. It was a photograph, but not just any photograph, it was me in my wedding dress. Only the picture looked old, decades old, and in the picture I wasn't standing with Ethan. I was standing with a man I had never seen before. The air in the room felt heavy. My heart pounded in my ears. "What is this?" I demanded. Matthew looked at Mom, then at Dad. My dad cleared his throat. "Olivia, this isn't the first time you've worn that dress." My knees felt weak. What are you talking about? Today is my first wedding. My mom reached out to touch my hand, but I pulled away. Please, she said, just sit down. There's so much you don't know. I didn't sit. I didn't blink. I couldn't. Tell me now. Dad took a deep breath. 20 years ago, you were married, but you don't remember it. And that man in the picture, he's why we couldn't come today. The room started spinning. My chest tightened. Married? 20 years ago, I was only 28. That didn't even make sense. What kind of joke is this? I snapped. It's not a joke, my mom whispered. And the man from your first wedding, he's back. He came to see us today. Every part of me wanted to scream, to run, to deny what I was hearing. But then a shadow moved at the edge of the room. I turned my head, and there he was. A man I had never met, tall, with sharp eyes and a faint smile, stepped forward. He was holding something in his hand. Hello, Olivia, he said. It's been a long time. The room was so quiet I could hear my own breathing. The man stood there like he belonged, like he knew every single person in that room. His eyes didn't leave mine, and it felt like he was trying to look straight into my thoughts. Who are you? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He tilted his head slightly, as if my question was strange. You don't remember me. I shook my head. No, and I think I'd remember marrying someone like you. Behind me, my mother gasped softly, and my father rubbed his forehead like this was all too much. Matthew was still holding that old photograph, and I realized he hadn't moved since I walked in. The man took a slow step toward me. My name is Daniel Reed, he said. We were married on August 12th, 19 years ago. You wore that same dress, Olivia. My heart thudded so loudly I was sure everyone could hear it. That's impossible, I said. I was 9 years old 19 years ago. Daniel smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. It was the kind that makes your skin crawl. Not in my world, you were. I took a step back. My veil brushed against the edge of the couch, and I grabbed onto it for balance. In your world, what does that even mean? No one answered. My parents exchanged a glance, and my stomach twisted. That glance told me they knew exactly what he was talking about. Mom, I turned to her, desperate for an explanation. Dad. My father's voice was low. Olivia, there are things we never told you. We thought we were protecting you. We thought it was best you forgot. I almost laughed, but it came out bitter. Forgot what? That apparently I was a child bride in some other world. Daniel's smile faded. You weren't a child. You were different. You were older in a place where time doesn't work like it does here. You and I were bound by a promise, but you left, and he pointed at my parents, they made sure you didn't remember. My skin prickled. This is insane. I don't know you. I've never been married before today, and you. You have the scar, Daniel interrupted. My breath caught. What scar? On your left shoulder, he said. A crescent shape. I put it there the night before our wedding. I froze. My entire life, I'd had a small, curved scar on my shoulder. My parents told me I'd fallen off my bike when I was a kid. Without thinking, I pulled my dress slightly to the side. The scar was there, pale against my skin. The air in the room shifted. No one spoke. No one moved. How do you know about that? I whispered. Daniel's eyes softened, not with kindness, but with something heavier. Because I gave it to you, Olivia, and I've been looking for you ever since you vanished. I felt like my knees would give out. Why now? Why today? Daniel's gaze flicked to Ethan's name in the wedding program lying on the coffee table. Because you tried to replace me. I took a deep breath, my voice shaking. This is crazy. You're crazy. You think I believe any of this? You don't have to believe me, he said, stepping even closer. But you will. I turned to my parents, my voice rising. You let this man into your house instead of coming to my wedding. You didn't even call me. You didn't think I deserved to know what was going on. My mother's eyes filled with tears. We thought, if we stayed away from your wedding, he might not show up there. We thought he wouldn't find you. Daniel gave a low laugh. They really thought they could hide you from me, but I've always known where you were. Something in his voice made my skin crawl. I stepped back, my hand brushing against the wall. I'm leaving, I said. No, you're not, Daniel replied calmly. Matthew finally spoke, his voice firm. Olivia, wait, you need to hear everything before you go. I stared at my brother. Hear what? He took a deep breath. That picture, the one in the box, it's not the only thing we found. There's more. From under the table, he pulled out a smaller box. It was metal, with a lock that looked rusted shut. He set it down and pulled a small key from his pocket. This was hidden in Dad's old desk, Matthew said. We never opened it until today. He unlocked it slowly. Inside were several folded letters, brittle with age. The top one had my name written on it in handwriting that wasn't mine. I reached for it, but Daniel grabbed it first. He unfolded it and began to read aloud. My dearest Olivia, if you're reading this, then you have forgotten me. You promised you never would. You promised to stay. But they took you away, and now I have to find you. I will wait as long as it takes. The moment you wear the white dress again, I will come for you. We are not finished. Daniel looked up at me. I wrote this 18 years ago, and here you are wearing the dress. The letters in my name on that page, they looked familiar. I had seen that handwriting before, but I couldn't remember where. I don't understand, I whispered. If any of this is true, why don't I remember you? Because they made you forget, Daniel said, his voice tightening. They stole you from me, changed your life, gave you another name, another family. That's not true, my mom said sharply. We saved you. You don't know what he was, what he is. Daniel's gaze hardened. Tell her then, tell her what I am. My parents stayed silent. The room felt colder, like someone had opened a window. My mind was spinning so fast it hurt. Was this man delusional, or had my whole life been a lie? Finally, I said, if what you're saying is true, then prove it. Show me something only I would know. Daniel didn't blink. Your favorite song when we were together was Blue Skis. You hated storms, but you loved the sound of rain when you were inside. You had a habit of tapping your fingers 3 times before making a big decision. And, he hesitated, you told me that if you ever forgot me, I should find you on your wedding day, because you'd be the easiest to remember then. I stared at him, my throat tight. I did tap my fingers like that. I did hate storms. And Blue Skis was my favorite song, though I didn't know why. My hands were shaking now. I do. Daniel stepped closer. You remember, maybe not fully, but it's there. That's why you're shaking. That's why your heart is racing. I took a step back, bumping into the couch. Stay away from me. But he didn't. And then Ethan appeared in the doorway. He looked from me to Daniel to my family. What the hell is going on here? He asked. Daniel turned his head slowly, studying Ethan like he was some kind of insect. So, you're the replacement. Ethan frowned. Who is this guy? No one answered. And then Daniel smiled again, the same chilling smile. You have no idea what you've stepped into, do you? Ethan moved toward me. Olivia, let's go. But Daniel's voice cut through the air. If you leave now, she will never know the truth. And the truth, Ethan, is the only thing that will save her. Ethan's hand wrapped around mine, warm and firm, but my mind was frozen between fear and confusion. Daniel's eyes stayed locked on me, unblinking, like he was waiting for me to move. Olivia, let's leave, Ethan said again, more forcefully this time. But before I could reply, my father stepped forward. Ethan, please. If you take her away now, she'll be in more danger than you can imagine. Ethan looked at him like he'd lost his mind. Danger? From him? He's just some creep from. You have no idea who I am, Daniel cut in, his voice low but powerful. And you have no idea who she is. The way he said, she made me feel like an object, not a person. My stomach tightened. Stop talking about me like I'm not here, I snapped. I deserve to know the truth, all of it, right now. Daniel took a step toward me, but Matthew moved between us. My brother's voice was steady, but his hand trembled. You tell her everything asterisk, he said to Daniel, and if you lie, I'll know. Daniel chuckled under his breath. Fine, but you won't like what you hear, Olivia. I crossed my arms, though my knees were weak. Then start talking. He looked at my parents, almost as if giving them one last chance to interrupt. They stayed silent. 20 years ago, Daniel began, in a place far from here I met you. You weren't Olivia Parker. You had another name, one you've forgotten. You weren't a teenager, you were an adult. You were like me. I frowned. Like you, what does that mean? His eyes glinted in the dim light. Not entirely human. Ethan scoffed. Okay, this is insane. He pulled at my arm, but I didn't move. I couldn't. My brain was screaming at me to leave, but some part of me deep down wanted to hear the rest. Daniel continued. You and I, we were bonded, not like humans marry, our kind bonds for life. And once it's done, it can't be undone. Except you tried. A cold shiver ran through me. This is ridiculous. I'm human. I've always been human. Have you? Daniel asked softly. Have you never wondered why you don't get sick like others do? Why you can run faster, heal faster? Why you've always had dreams you can't explain? My mind flashed to the times I'd cut myself cooking, only for the wound to fade within a day. The nights I'd dreamed of places I'd never been, but felt real asterisk. No, I whispered. That doesn't mean anything. It means everything, Daniel said. And when you tried to leave me, your parents here found you, or rather, they were given you, and they hid you in this world. They blocked your memories so you'd believe you were one of them. I turned to my mom. Is this true? She looked away, tears sliding down her cheeks. Mom, I shouted. Yes, she whispered finally. We took you in. We didn't know what else to do. You were scared. You wanted to stay here. We thought if you forgot him, you'd be safe. My father added, it worked for 19 years, until today. My pulse was pounding so hard it hurt. So, you're saying I'm not really your daughter? You are asterisk, my mom said quickly. We raised you, we love you, but you're not originally from here. My knees gave out and I sank onto the couch. My wedding dress pooled around me like a white wave. This is insane. All of you are insane. Daniel stepped closer again, kneeling so he was eye level with me. You can deny it all you want, Olivia, but your bond with me is still there. You feel it, that pull, that connection. That's why you can't walk away right now, even though you think you should. I swallowed hard, because the truth was I did feel something, not love, not affection. Something deeper, stranger, like a cord pulling at my chest. Ethan stepped between us, shoving Daniel back. Stay away from her. Daniel didn't fight back. He just looked at Ethan with pity. You have no idea what you're trying to fight. She's not yours to take. Ethan turned to me, desperation in his eyes. Liv, please, this is our wedding day. Let's leave, go somewhere, forget this happened. But I couldn't move. My mind was stuck between two worlds, the life I knew and this impossible story being forced on me. Matthew spoke again, his voice grim. There's something else, Olivia, something you need to see. He went back to the wooden box and took out a folded piece of dark fabric. When he unwrapped it, I saw a small, silver dagger. The blade shimmered strangely, like it was almost alive. This was found with the photograph, Matthew said. It has your initials carved into the handle. I reached out and took it. My hands knew exactly how to hold it like I'd done it before. A chill shot up my spine. Daniel's voice was almost a whisper. That blade was yours. You carried it the day you left me. I stared at the dagger, my reflection warped in its strange surface. Why would I have this? To protect yourself from me, Daniel said simply. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in. I set the dagger down, my hands trembling. Ethan looked at my family like they'd all lost their minds. This is insane. We're leaving, right now. But Daniel's next words stopped me cold. If you leave without knowing the truth, he said, Ethan will be dead before the year is over, and you'll blame yourself. Ethan laughed bitterly. Nice threat. It's not a threat, Daniel replied. It's a warning. There are others looking for her. I'm the only one who can keep her alive. I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. Why would anyone want to hurt me? Daniel's gaze darkened. Because of what you are, and because of what you can do, you just don't know it yet. No one spoke after that. The only sound was the faint ticking of the clock on the wall. Finally, I stood. My voice was shaking, but I forced the words out. "Fine, tell me everything from the beginning, and don't leave anything out." Daniel's smile returned, slow and deliberate. "Then you'll need to come with me. I can't tell you here, it's not safe." Ethan grabbed my arm. "Olivia, don't you dare go with him." I looked between Ethan, my parents, and Daniel. My whole body felt like it was being pulled in two different directions. And then Daniel said one last thing that made my blood run cold. "Your first wedding didn't end in divorce. It ended in blood." The word blood echoed in my head like a drumbeat. My mouth went dry, and I could barely swallow. "What do you mean?" I asked slowly, my voice unsteady. "What happened?" Daniel didn't answer right away. He glanced at my parents, as if deciding whether to say more. "Tell her," my father said finally, his voice heavy. "It's too late to hide it now." Daniel's eyes locked on mine. "On our wedding night," he began, "we weren't alone. There were others, people who didn't want us to be together. They came for you, Olivia, and I killed them." The room tilted slightly, or maybe it was just my own balance giving way. "You killed them." He didn't flinch. "To protect you, but one of them got to you first. You were wounded, badly, and the only way to save you was to bring you here to hide you in this world." "That's not true," my mom cut in sharply. "You didn't bring her here. We found her. You left her for dead, and we—" "You're lying," Daniel interrupted, his voice low but dangerous. "I saved her. You took her from me while she was unconscious." I held up my hands. "Stop. Just stop. Both of you. You're telling me that 19 years ago I was some other person, married to him, attacked on my wedding night, almost died, and then just woke up here with no memory." "Yes," Daniel said simply. "That's insane," Ethan muttered under his breath, but I barely heard him. My mind was racing, images flickering in my head, a dark room lit by candles, a smell of smoke, a sharp pain in my shoulder, the sound of shouting. I shook my head violently, trying to push the flashes away. "No, I'm imagining things. This can't be real." Daniel stepped closer, his voice softer now. "You're not imagining it. The memories are coming back piece by piece. You can fight them, but you can't stop them." I backed up until my dress brushed the coffee table. My hand rested on the edge of the wooden box. The dagger was still there, glinting faintly. Without thinking, I picked it up. It felt right in my hand, like it belonged there. Ethan's voice broke the silence. "Olivia, put that down, please." I looked at him, and for the first time all day, I saw fear in his eyes, real fear. "Why?" I asked. "Because you don't know what you're doing," he said. Daniel's voice cut in, calm and sure. "She knows exactly what she's doing, even if she doesn't realize it yet." "Enough," my mom snapped. "You're not taking her anywhere, Daniel, not again." Daniel turned to her. "If I don't, she won't survive the next month, you know that." "What is he talking about?" I demanded. My father sighed heavily. "Olivia, there are others like him, and like you, some of them are dangerous. They'll know now that you've bonded with someone else, Ethan, and they won't forgive it." "Bonded?" Ethan asked, confused. Daniel looked at him like he was a clueless child. "Marriage in your human way is just paper and promises. Bonding in our way is permanent. She was bonded to me, and now, by marrying you, she's broken that bond. That's dangerous." I felt the room closing in again. "So you're saying I've basically committed some magical crime?" Daniel nodded once. "Exactly." Ethan shook his head. "This is ridiculous. None of this is real. We're leaving, now." He grabbed my hand, but the moment his skin touched mine, something strange happened. A sharp, hot pain shot up my arm. I gasped and yanked my hand away. "What the hell?" Ethan asked, rubbing his own hand. Daniel's expression darkened. "It's starting, the bond breaking. It will hurt both of you more and more until—" He didn't finish. "Until what?" I demanded. "Until one of you dies," Daniel said flatly. The silence that followed was suffocating. Ethan laughed nervously, like he was trying to brush it off, but no one else was laughing. I dropped the dagger onto the table. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely keep them still. "Why didn't you tell me any of this sooner?" I asked my parents. "Because we hoped it would never happen," my mom whispered. "We thought if we kept you here, kept you away from him, you could live a normal life." "A normal life," I said bitterly. "You mean a fake life." Her eyes filled with tears. "We just wanted you safe." Daniel took a slow step toward me. "You're not safe now, Olivia, and the only way to protect you is to come back with me." Ethan stepped in front of me, blocking him. "She's not going anywhere with you." Daniel's gaze flicked between us. "Then she'll die here, and you'll die with her." I could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on me. My mind was a storm: fear, anger, confusion, and something else I didn't want to name. Finally, I said, "If what you're saying is true, then why should I trust you? You're the reason my life is a mess right now." Daniel didn't flinch. "Because I'm the only one who knows how to save you, and because, despite everything, I still love you." My heart lurched in my chest, not because I believed him, but because a small part of me wanted to. "I don't love you," I said firmly. He smiled faintly. "Not yet." Ethan swore under his breath. "This is insane." But before I could say anything else, a loud bang shook the house. The lights flickered. My mom screamed. Daniel's head snapped toward the front door. "They're here," he said. "Who?" Ethan demanded. Daniel's eyes met mine. "The ones who came for you the first time." Another bang, louder this time, rattled the windows. I could hear voices outside, low, harsh, speaking a language I didn't understand. "We have to go," Daniel said urgently. "Now." "No one is going anywhere," my dad shouted, moving toward the door. But before he could reach it, the glass shattered, spraying shards across the floor. Figures in dark clothing poured into the room, their faces hidden, their movements fast and precise. One of them lunged at me. Before I could react, Daniel was in front of me, moving so quickly he was almost a blur. The attacker hit the wall with a sickening thud. Ethan pulled me toward the back of the house, but another figure blocked our path. Everything was chaos, shouting, crashing furniture, the glint of the dagger on the table. I grabbed it without thinking, my fingers curling around the hilt. One of the intruders came at me, and my hand moved on its own. The blade flashed, and the man stumbled back, clutching his arm. I stared at the dagger, my breath coming fast. I had known exactly where to strike. Daniel's voice cut through the noise. "Olivia, with me." Ethan was still pulling at my arm. "No, with me." For a second, I was frozen between them, the world spinning. Then one of the masked figures shouted something in that strange language, and Daniel's eyes went wide. "They're calling for the kill," he said. "Choose Olivia, now." The room was spinning, my lungs burning, and every sound seemed sharper than it should be. Ethan's grip on my wrist was iron, Daniel's voice was slicing through the chaos, and the masked figures were closing in. "Choose Olivia," Daniel shouted again. I couldn't think. My instincts decided for me. I yanked free from Ethan and ran toward Daniel. Ethan's voice cracked. "Olivia, no." But there was no time to explain, if there even was an explanation. Daniel caught my arm mid-run and pulled me toward the back hallway. Two masked intruders lunged at us, but he moved like water, ducking one punch, shoving the second man's head into the wall so hard the plaster cracked. We burst through the kitchen door into the night air. "Where are we going?" I panted. "Somewhere they can't follow," he said, his eyes darting around. I could still hear the fight inside, Ethan yelling, my mom's scream, my dad's voice booming in anger, my chest clenched. "We can't just leave them." "They'll slow you down," Daniel cut in. "If they come, they'll die. You have to trust me." His words made my stomach twist, but before I could argue, a dark figure leapt over the porch railing in front of us. Daniel shoved me sideways, just as a silver blade sliced the air where my head had been. The man hissed something in that strange language, and Daniel responded in the same tongue, his voice low and dangerous. They circled each other like predators. I took a step back, but the man's eyes flicked to me, and I realized I was his real target. Without thinking, I raised the dagger. My hand didn't shake this time. Daniel shouted, "Stay behind me!" and lunged forward. The fight was fast and brutal, fists, blades, and movements too quick for my eyes to track. Daniel finally slammed the man to the ground and snapped his neck in one clean motion. I stared, frozen. "You killed him." Daniel's gaze was cold. "If I didn't, he'd kill you." Before I could respond, more shadows moved in the yard. Daniel grabbed my hand and started running, pulling me through the trees behind my parents' house. The night air was freezing, branches whipping my face, but we didn't slow down. My heart pounded in my ears. Every time I thought we'd outrun them, I'd catch a glimpse of movement in the darkness. Finally, we reached a clearing, and in the middle of it was nothing, just open space. I spun on him. "This is your big safe place, empty grass." "Not empty," he said, pulling something small and silver from his pocket. It looked like a coin, but etched with strange symbols. He tossed it onto the ground. The air shimmered like heat waves, and suddenly a dark wooden door appeared, standing upright with no walls around it. "What the hell?" "No time," Daniel said, yanking it open. A rush of warm light spilled out. "Go." I hesitated for half a second, then stepped through. The moment my foot crossed the threshold, the smell of grass and cold air vanished. The ground beneath me turned to stone, the walls high and lined with torches. It was like stepping into a medieval castle. Daniel came in after me and slammed the door shut. The light around the edges faded until it looked like part of the stone wall. I spun to face him. "Where the hell are we?" "A safe house," he said simply, walking toward a long wooden table in the center of the room. "One of the few left that they can't breach." I ran my hands over the cold stone walls, my mind racing. "You have to explain this, all of it. I'm not going anywhere until I know what's happening." He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. "Fine, but you're not going to like it." "I already do like it," I snapped. Daniel sat at the table, gesturing for me to join him. "The night we were married, it wasn't just a wedding. It was a binding. You became part of me and I became part of you. Our lives, our souls were tied together." I crossed my arms. "You keep saying that. Why does it matter now?" "Because," he said, leaning forward, "when that bond breaks, it calls blood. Someone has to die to seal the tear it makes." I felt cold all over. "So you're saying either me or Ethan?" "We'll die," Daniel finished, "unless we fix it." "How?" His eyes searched mine. "By renewing the bond." I laughed, but it came out hollow. "You mean marrying you again, not happening?" "It's not about marriage," he said. "It's about survival. If you don't, every day from now will feel like the pain you felt when Ethan touched you, only worse, until it kills you." I shook my head, packing the room. "No, there has to be another way." "There is." "Then what about Ethan? If we do this, does he die instead?" Daniel's jaw tightened. "If we renew the bond, Ethan will live, but he'll forget you, entirely." I stopped packing. "Forget me, like I never existed." "Yes." A lump formed in my throat. I thought about Ethan's smile, his laugh, the way he held my hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. And now I was supposed to erase all of that. "I can't," I whispered. "Then you'll both die," Daniel said quietly. I looked at him, my anger rising. "Why are you even helping me? If you wanted me back, why not just let Ethan die and take me then?" His eyes softened in a way I didn't expect. "Because I'm not the man you think I am." I snorted. "You killed someone in my parents' yard 10 minutes ago." "To protect you," he said. "That hasn't changed, and it never will." Before I could answer, the door shimmered again. Daniel was on his feet instantly, pulling me behind him. "They found us," I asked, panic spiking. "No," he said grimly. "Someone else did." The door swung open, and a woman stepped through. She was tall, with long black hair braided down her back, and eyes so pale they were almost white. She smiled when she saw me. "Hello, Olivia." "Who are you?" I asked. "I'm the reason you were attacked the first time," she said calmly. and I'm here to finish it." Daniel drew a blade from his belt. "You won't touch her." The woman tilted her head, her gaze never leaving me. "You think this is about her? It's not. It's about you, Daniel, and what you stole from me." "I stole nothing," Daniel growled. "Oh," she stepped closer. "Then why is her soul still carrying my mark?" My stomach dropped. "Your mark." She smiled again, slow and cruel. "Did he not tell you, little bride, before you were his, you were mine?" The room spun again, and flashes of memory, unfamiliar yet sharp, slammed into me. A different wedding, a different vow, and eyes like ice staring into mine as I said, "I do." I stumbled back, my hand gripping the table for support. "Olivia," Daniel started, but the woman raised a hand and a blast of icy air knocked him against the wall. I turned toward her. "What do you want from me?" "Only what's mine," she said, reaching out. Before her fingers could touch me, Daniel was back on his feet, his blade at her throat. "You'll have to kill me first." Her smile widened. "Gladly." The air around us crackled like a storm about to break. And I realized this wasn't just about me anymore. This was a war. The woman's pale eyes locked on mine, and for a moment I couldn't move. It was like her gaze dug into my head, pulling up memories I didn't even know I had. My chest felt tight, and my vision blurred around the edges. Daniel stepped between us, his blade pressing against her skin. "Stay out of her mind." But she didn't flinch. "She's already remembering, you can't stop it." My knees buckled, and suddenly, I wasn't standing in the stone room anymore. I was somewhere else, somewhere warm, glowing with candlelight. I was wearing a white dress, but not the one I wore when I married Ethan. This one was older, heavier, made of silk that shimmered like water. My hands were clasped in front of me, but when I looked closer, they were stained with something red. A voice spoke beside me. "You look beautiful, Olivia." I turned and saw her, the same pale-eyed woman. But here, she was younger, smiling in a way that seemed almost genuine. Her long hair was loose over her shoulders, and she wore a silver crown. "You're late," she teased. I do." My voice sounded younger too, but shaky. "What is this?" She laughed, taking my hand. "Your wedding, our wedding, did you forget already?" My stomach twisted. "No, this isn't real." "Oh, it's very real." She stepped closer, pressing something cold into my palm. When I looked down, it was a ring, black metal, etched with the same strange symbols I'd seen on Daniel's coin. "Put it on," she said softly. I tried to drop it, but my fingers wouldn't obey. Slowly, against my will, I slid it onto my hand. The moment the ring touched my skin, a burning sensation shot up my arm. I gasped, and she smiled wider. "There, now you're mine." I tried to yank it off, but it wouldn't budge. The world around me wavered, and then I was back in the stone room, gasping for air. My hand flew to my fingers, no ring, but the burning feeling lingered. "What did you do to me?" I demanded, my voice shaking. The woman tilted her head. "I claimed you, long before Daniel did, and when he bound you to himself, he stole what was mine." Daniel's grip on his sword tightened. "She was never yours." She ignored him, her gaze fixed on me. "Do you know what happens when two bonds fight for the same soul, Olivia? It tears you apart, slowly, painfully, unless one bond wins." My mind raced. "So, either you or Daniel." "Exactly." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "And you're going to choose me." "Like hell she will," Daniel snapped. Her pale eyes flicked to him. "We'll see." Before either of them could move, the torches on the walls flared brighter, then blew out completely. The room plunged into darkness. Something heavy slammed into me, knocking me to the ground. I couldn't see, but I could hear the clash of metal, grunts of pain, a woman's laugh echoing through the dark. "Daniel," I shouted. "Stay down," he called back. I tried to crawl toward the wall, but something icy wrapped around my ankle. I screamed as it yanked me backward. My fingers scraped against the stone floor, searching for anything to hold on to. Then I felt it, the dagger Daniel had given me earlier. I grabbed it and swung blindly. The blade connected with something solid, and a sharp hiss cut through the dark. The grip on my ankle vanished. Light returned in an instant, the torches flaring back to life. The woman was gone. Daniel stood across the room, his chest heaving, a cut bleeding down his cheek. "Where did she go?" I asked, still gripping the dagger. "She's not gone," he said grimly. "She just wanted to remind us she can get to you, anytime." I shivered. Daniel, what she showed me, was that real? His jaw tightened, some of it. "Which part?" "The bond," he said quietly. "She's not lying about that. She marked you once long before I met you. I didn't know it until after I bound you to me. By then, it was too late." I shook my head, backing away. "So all this time I've been what? Some kind of prize you two are fighting over." He stepped closer. "It's not like that." "It's exactly like that," I snapped. "You both decided what to do with my life without even asking me." He stopped, his eyes dark. "If I hadn't bound you, she would have drained you until you were nothing but a shell. I saved you." "Then why didn't you tell me?" His voice dropped to a whisper. "Because I didn't want you to remember her." Silence stretched between us. Finally, I asked, "So what now? Do I just wait for her to kill me?" "No," Daniel said firmly. "We find her first, and we end this." I swallowed hard. "How?" "There's only one way to kill someone like her," he said. "We have to destroy the place where she bound you." "And where is that?" His gaze met mine. "The altar where you first said yes to her." My skin crawled. "You mean I have to go back?" He nodded. "It's the only way." I looked at the stone walls around us, at the strange symbols carved into the floor. I didn't want to go anywhere near that woman again, but deep down I knew if I didn't face her, she'd never stop. "When do we leave?" I asked. Daniel's lips curved into the smallest smile. "Right now." He moved to the wall and pressed his palm against one of the symbols. A section of the stone slid aside, revealing a narrow tunnel lit by faint blue light. "This leads to the outer path," he said. "Once we take it, there's no coming back here until it's done." I hesitated only a moment before stepping toward the tunnel. "Then, let's finish this." We walked in silence, the only sounds our footsteps on the cold floor. The tunnel seemed to stretch forever, winding deeper underground. The air grew colder with each step, and I could feel the dagger in my hand almost vibrating. Finally, the tunnel opened into a vast underground cavern. Stalactites hung from the ceiling, and in the center of the cavern stood a massive stone archway, broken in places, but still pulsing with faint light. "That's it," Daniel said. I frowned. "That doesn't look like an altar." "It was," he replied. "A long time ago, before it was destroyed in the war." "War?" He didn't answer. Instead, he walked toward the archway, motioning for me to follow. The moment I stepped inside the circle of stones, the air shifted. A low hum filled my ears, and the ground beneath my feet seemed to pulse in time with my heartbeat. Then a voice, her voice, echoed through the cavern. "You really came back, little bride." I spun around. She was standing just beyond the arch, her pale eyes glowing in the dim light. Daniel raised his sword. "Stay behind me." But I didn't move. Something inside me, something I didn't understand, pulled me forward. She smiled. "That's it, come to me." I took another step. "Olivia, stop," Daniel shouted. But her voice was in my head now, warm and soft. "You belong to me, you always have." I reached the center of the archway. She lifted her hand, and I lifted mine to meet it. Our fingers didn't touch, but the moment they were inches apart, the ground shook violently. Daniel lunged forward, shoving me out of the circle. A deafening crack echoed through the cavern as light exploded from the archway. And then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, the world was quiet, too quiet. I was lying on cold stone, but it wasn't the cavern anymore. Above me, the ceiling was low and curved, made of rough bricks. A single lantern flickered weakly in the corner, casting long shadows. "Daniel," my voice echoed back at me. No answer. I pushed myself up slowly, my head throbbing. The last thing I remembered was the blinding light from the archway, Daniel shoving me out of the circle, and then nothing. Now I was alone. My dagger was still in my hand, but my fingers felt numb holding it. I looked around, searching for any sign of him or her. That's when I noticed the door. It was heavy, made of iron, with no handle on my side. The air smelled damp, like this place had been sealed for years. I walked to the door and pressed my ear against it. Nothing. Then faintly, I heard it, a whisper. "Olivia." I froze. It was her voice. I stepped back from the door, gripping my dagger tighter. "Where, Daniel?" A soft laugh. "Oh, he's here, just busy." "Busy doing what?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Fighting for you, but you know how this ends, don't you? He can't win, he never could." I didn't answer. "You're wasting time," she continued. "The bond between us is older than anything you can imagine. Every time you fight me, it only hurts you more." I forced myself to speak. "If you're so sure, why don't you open the door and face me?" Silence for a moment, then the door creaked open. Cold air rushed in, and she stepped inside. This time, she wasn't smiling. Her pale eyes burned brighter, and her black dress trailed along the floor like smoke. "You think you're brave," she said, tilting her head, "but you're just pretending." I swallowed hard. "Maybe, but I'm still standing." She took a step toward me, not for long. The moment she moved, I lunged forward, swinging the dagger at her. She caught my wrist mid-swing, her grip like iron. "You still don't understand, little bride," she whispered. "That dagger won't kill me, not while the bond is alive." My heart pounded. "Then I'll just break it." Her smile returned, cold and sharp. "You think that's easy? To break a bond, you have to cut out the part of yourself that belongs to me, and I promise you it's bigger than you think." Before I could respond, the room shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. Somewhere far away, I heard metal clashing. "Daniel." Her grip tightened. "You have a choice, Olivia, right now. Come with me willingly and I'll spare him. Stay and he dies." I hesitated. My mind screamed at me to say no, but my chest ached at the thought of Daniel falling because of me. "How do I know you won't kill him anyway?" I asked. "You don't," she said simply. The shaking grew stronger, and a deep cracking sound echoed through the walls. I thought about everything Daniel had done for me, about how he'd hidden the truth, yes, but also how many times he'd risked his life to protect me, about how, without him, I would have been gone long ago. I tightened my grip on the dagger. "Then I guess we both take our chances." I twisted my wrist hard, slipping out of her hold, and drove the dagger toward the glowing mark at her collarbone, the one I'd only just noticed. She screamed, stumbling back, and the mark flared white-hot. The bond between us pulled tight, like a rope snapping inside me. Pain exploded in my chest, and I dropped to my knees, gasping. She staggered, clutching her chest. "You can't." But before she could finish, the iron door behind her slammed open, and Daniel burst in. His sword was dripping with something dark, and his face was streaked with blood and dirt. "Get away from her," he roared, charging forward. The woman turned, but Daniel didn't give her a chance to move. His blade cut through the glowing mark completely. The moment it did, the cavern's hum, the one I hadn't realized was still in my head, stopped. She screamed again, but this time it was different. It was the sound of something breaking. Her body flickered, fading in and out like a shadow in the wind. "You were mine," she rasped. And then she was gone. The silence afterward felt heavier than the fight. Daniel dropped to one knee, breathing hard. "Olivia, are you?" "I'm fine," I said quickly, though my whole body was trembling. He looked at me, searching my face. "The bond." "I think it's gone," I said softly. "I can't feel her anymore." Relief washed over his features, but it was short-lived. The walls groaned, and cracks split through the floor. She was holding this place together, he realized. Without her, the ground gave way beneath us. We fell. The air rushed past my face, darkness swallowing us whole. I reached out blindly, and Daniel's hand caught mine. "Hold on," he shouted. We hit water so cold it stole my breath. I kicked upward, fighting to reach the surface, and finally broke through, gasping. We were in some kind of underground river, the current dragging us forward. Dim light filtered in from ahead, and I swam toward it with all the strength I had left. The tunnel opened into a massive underground lake. At the far end, sunlight spilled through a jagged hole in the rock. We dragged ourselves onto a narrow ledge, coughing and shaking. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Finally, Daniel said, "It's over." I looked at him. "Is it?" He hesitated, "For now." We sat there in the faint sunlight, letting the warmth hit our faces. Somewhere deep inside, I knew this wasn't the end. People or things like her didn't just vanish forever. But for the first time since this all started, the weight in my chest was gone. I could breathe. And for now, that was enough.